Hi, everybody. Hi, say hi to the Silver Fox.
Good morning.
Hi, everybody on the stream. All right, let's see here. All right. Good to go, Joe. How you been, man? You recovered from last week yet?
Was tough, Sam. And my son, I had to keep him classy. He was prepared to call you on Monday.
Yeah, he should have called. He should have called. He should have called because he was one of the few Sparties to talk before the game.
He was.
He deserved his.
All right, guys, radio time. Radio time in 5, 4, 3.
And we have folks here on the Michigan Insider, Sports Talk 1050 WTKA, online at WTK.com. Sam Webb, Mr. Ira Weintraub on the other side of the glass, and pleased to be joined as we are every single week on Friday in the 8 o'clock hour by our good friend Joe Simon, WTKA legal insider and expert Joe Simon, to help us break down Michigan football. And Joe, we'll just start out asking you, man, how you doing? A diehard Michigan fan that you are, how you doing, man?
Sam, this is a tough week. I know it was a tough week for you, but not very good is my answer to that. And I know I'm here at the end of the week. People are probably sick of talking about it, but I actually think this was an historic loss for Michigan, and I think more significant than the App State loss. And I'd like to present my reason why.
All right, well, before we get into that, Joe, give us, tell the folks about the law offices of Joseph A. Simon. I talk you up all the time, but no one can put it out there like you can about your expertise, what you bring to the table for any clients that find themselves in need.
Sam, we're a full-service criminal defense law firm located in Washtenaw County, right across the street from Michigan Football Stadium. We service Washtenaw County and all surrounding areas. We represent people from misdemeanors to felonies, from traffic offenses to homicide cases. Sam, most folks think they'll never need to know a criminal defense attorney, but life takes funny turns. We represent people who are truly innocent and wrongfully accused. We represent people who have made bad choices. We do the whole gambit, and we like to think that we're your best option. You can find us at themichigandefenders.com.
Gotcha. All right, so Joe, let's jump right in. And you said that you find this to be a worse loss than App State. Why?
In App State, Sam, you had a small school that beat a big school. That was really the significance of it. It was shocking. But really, if you look at the game, it's because of one thing and one thing only. Michigan didn't know how to defend a spread. The spread was relatively new. The spread was the big equalizer. Big, strong, out physical teams that out physicaled smaller teams were equalized by the spread, and we didn't know how to defend it. So it was a shock. This game is a little bit different to me. No, a lot different to me. This game, we had a chance. We talked about this several times to really put Michigan State away from the conversation, remove them from the table of conversation for the battleground of the state of Michigan for recruiting going forward. And that was so important to do. We didn't do it. Not only did we not remove them from the conversation, they may have taken our seat. And I can't imagine one game having that much significance, but it did. Also, we took a black eye. We got punched in the mouth, in the eye, right in front of the nation. The fallout from this is pretty colossal.
Yeah, I thought it's as big an upset. I think it's as big. I think the thing that when you talk about App State, 1AA team, it'll always be the first, right? There was no line on the game because it was a 1AA team. If you look back how good that team was, in addition to, as you said, not knowing how to defend the spread or that tempo. I can remember Michigan guys being super winded in that game. You could argue that team and that style made that a superior opponent to the one that Michigan faced on Saturday in Michigan State. But what puts this up there, being 3-touchdown favorite at home against a team that lost to Rutgers last week, it's a game that, as far as gut-wrenching defeats go, this one is up there. It's different from the Michigan State game a couple of years ago, Joe, because that one was a fluke. A block punt we never seen before. This one was, hey, they came in and they never trailed in this game, and that puts it on a different level for me. I don't know that I make it worse than App State, but it's right up there as far as I'm concerned.
And add to the fact, Sam, that if you looked at the roster back in the block punt game, the muff punt game, they had players. They were a very talented team. If you looked at the rosters coming into this week, there was no way you would say they had the better talent. We would like to think they didn't have the better coaching. There was no, you did a beautiful job on Monday, giving props to Michigan State. You said there was no cheating, there was no flukes. You're correct. That's the hardest thing to reconcile of all.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, Joe, as we start to get into it, I want to direct people to your website, the MichiganDefenders.com. Again, the MichiganDefenders.com. So you can start to get into the videos. Those of you who are interested in following along with the videos, you can find them on Joe's website, the MichiganDefenders.com. Again, the MichiganDefenders.com. And theme, let's just start off. Was there an overall theme to this loss in your opinion, Joe?
Yeah, I want to talk about our something that you brought up, I believe, on Monday. You said that philosophically on offense, you think that our offense is suited toward good things to come, that you believe that it can, we can really blossom. I agree. I think you said there's no need to change the entire theme and scheme of the office. I agree. But you also said on the defensive side that you didn't share the same opinion. I agree again. But I want to talk about the play calling, coaching on both sides of the ball. And here's what I want to say before we get into the clips. Everything I'm going to put on the videos is going to represent something that I think has frustrated me, frustrated the fan base. I am going to take an advocacy role today for the fan base. Coaches have to put our players in the best position for success, Sam. And that's really the one of the key elements for this. And repeatedly, we felt that wasn't true, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. What has frustrated the fan base now that we're in year 6 is it seems like that when we are in these situations, in victory and in defeat, we've had so many narrow escapes in victory, overtime games, goal line stands, praying that Army would miss a field goal. Whenever we've been in situations when things aren't going right, we seem hapless for in-game adjustments on both sides of the ball. And that, I think, is the thing that single-handedly frustrates the fan base most of all. So before we go right into the clips on defense, Sam, on the countdown to kickoff, we had a discussion. And the discussion was essentially, I don't want to see our young corners on an island. There's no reason to do it. That was a concern going in. And it's not like we're Nostradamus here. It's that is a vulnerability of our team. And we did it, and we did it repeatedly. And you're going to say, but Joe, they did some zone, they did some in-game adjustments. Yep, they did, and I have some video to talk about that too. But whatever we did, we didn't do it very well, and we did it kind of late. So I want to kind of jump in, and I'm going to try to use the screen share feature here. The first 2 clips I want to play are called Uninspired Defense, and I want to remind folks, these are successive plays. We've exchanged punts. This is first quarter. Michigan State's at about their own 42-yard line. And Sam, I want to say successive plays. The first 2 clips I'm going to play are Uninspired Defense, and then I'm going to play first of many. So with respect to Uninspired Defense, this is a familiar thing with Michigan. We're showing man by that motion indicates man. But look, now we've seen this a lot from Michigan. Michigan often seems right before the snap uncertain, unready. We have several players checking to the sideline for an adjustment, fine, but watch as the play goes through. Still standing, still repositioning, to my mind, body posture not confidently. I'm going to freeze it there and say Hawkins, no offense, think I had a very bad day at this game. I think he's way out of position. But what I really want to highlight is when they go to the backside camera angle for an enormous run that shouldn't have happened. Here's what I want people to notice. We have a line stunt going, and I want everyone to watch the body posture and positioning of our entire middle. What I mean by that is safety, McGrone, lineman, linebacker. This whole 4 set people. Watch the body language and posture. Okay, I'm just going to stop that. If I'm in film room and I see my defensive lineman on the stunt kind of overrun his gap and be in that body position, if I see my safety in that body position, and if I see my linebacker post handoff in that body position, that concerns me. And when I say uninspired defense, come on, there's not even significant blocking going on. That was really, it started pre-snap and it continued through the play, in my view. That was
hey
very
Ira,
concerning.
can you punch up? Joe's trying to share the video.
It is.
And can you
Oh, it
punch?
didn't work?
It's not available to me at the moment. I'm not sure if there's, but I don't have the option to punch it in for those that are watching.
Oh boy, I'm so sorry. You know what? I'm gonna do one more thing. Maybe it's on my end, and if it works, it works. If not, we'll go off. Come on. I think I have fixed it, men. I think it was on my end.
Okay.
So
here we go.
okay. Sorry, everybody. Let me get to that. What I'm talking about here. So again, we're indicating man coverage.
Right.
We are pre-snap. We are looking back to the sideline, a little bit confused. We are still in alignment that is not quite certain. Hawkins, I think, takes a very bad approach to where he's supposed to be. And Sam, let's let this play out and we'll freeze it on the backside of the play. This ends up being like a 40-yard run or something like that. But here's what I meant about posture of the defense. We have a line stunt that's overrun. I don't like the body posture. I don't think that's an aggressive body posture. I think Hawkins in his bad position. This is post handoff, Sam. I think McGrone's in a bad body posture. Post handoff, hat's got to be flying to the football. And watch the blocking, which isn't all that. It's not that significant. And a lane becomes huge. And I just find that more than troubling, and it segues to the next play.
I think you nailed it with this telestration, Joe. I think you absolutely nailed it. I think that when you have Jeter come on that stunt, because for those who aren't watching, you had Ben Van Simmeren, he stunts inside and shoots the A gap. And you have your nose, which is in this case, Donovan Jeter, come around on the stunt in the B gap, but he doesn't squeeze his gap. He makes it super wide. And so there's a great lane for the running back to get through. And also, to your point, Joe, there was a late rotation on the as they rotated with the motion, I believe it was the Viper that came over with the motion. And so you saw Brad Hawkins have to spin to the other side as a result. And not only were they late in that rotation, but he also wound up being out of position, way out of position. And it created a truck-like lane for him to run up the football field and get 40 yards. It should have been 10 yards at best if your safety is in position. And he wasn't on that play. So you nailed it with that telestration.
Well, Sam, good segue to out of position. This next clip is called First of Many. This is the successive play. And the same theme is true. Now, unfortunately, Fox wasn't on the snap because Michigan State went hurry. But look at on snap, our players are not in good position at all. We are in man again. And here's the thing that I find troubling. Not only is there one open receiver who catches a touchdown, there are actually two. I didn't catch this first time, but watch Hill's man in coverage, and I'm going to freeze it right here. Now, for those who can't see, this is Michigan State's first touchdown. They are throwing to single coverage against Gray. We're going to see this a lot. That's why I called this first of many. We've got a utility of our under help that's kind of wasted. Again, pre-snap, I think we look confused, and I think they have a choice. All too easy, as Darth Vader would say. There's a choice of receivers here, Sam, and I actually think that he makes the wrong choice. Lombardi does, but nevertheless, they have just a pitch and catch in isolation. Just what we said that we did not want to have in this game. I'm gonna stop the screen share real quick. So Sam, in terms of position. There's both the positioning for success and also there's the execution. Both things happen to be very bad on the defensive side of the ball. But what I don't like is what do we do about that when that is happening to us? And it seems like for the last couple of seasons, when that is happening, we don't have answers. And here's one thing I really want to say about the defensive philosophy. Sam, I looked at this film. It was painful. I don't think Lombardi saw anything post-snap that he didn't see pre-snap. You have a guy who came into this week throwing a lot of interceptions. One way to assist him in furthering that path is to confuse him. I never felt that we did anything in that regard. I don't think we disguised coverages. In fact, I think that by body posture, anytime he stepped into the throw, he was giddy because he was getting exactly what he wanted.
I think to that point, I mean, the first play you showed, Lombardi checks the play. I mean, that play was supposed to go the other way. He checks it to the left and gets a great picture, and it winds up being a big play in part because on motion, seeing Aaron man to man, seeing that he has numbers to the other side, he switched the play. He checked the play and had it go in the other direction. You see the running back switch sides, and he was able to get a big play out of it. So you're right. He was pretty dialed into what Michigan wanted to do defensively.
Sam, I'm going to go to the offensive side of the ball. I wanted to make sure we had time to talk about this in particular, and I know this is something you and I are going to end up disagreeing on. Well, I think so anyway, and that's what got a lot of attention, which is the Wildcat. So I want to talk. We need to take a break, Ira?
No, we're good.
Okay, sorry. So this is the Wildcat play. Is my screen share working?
Not yet.
No?
Now it is.
Okay, so this is not the Wildcat play. This is the Wildcat prelude. These are all the plays that led us to that second and goal situation. And this is why it bothered me. So first you have Milton standing in the pocket and making a very strong throw. And then we have nothing but perimeter plays. And Sam, I already know what you're going to say. So when we get there, I know what you say. We have Haskins making a perimeter play for just running hard. We have Mason making a perimeter play with our receivers who blocked well against Minnesota, blocking hard. Here's what I know you're going to say. That bounce by Haskins was a bounce to the perimeter, and I think you're going to say that's what was supposed to happen in the Wildcat play. But also then you have Milton coming on a rollout that gets us into second and not goal, but we have about 5 yards for the first down. Okay, why did I play all that prelude? Sam, at the time the play was called Wildcat, I want to set the stage. The first thing I want to say about it is that there was a first down that was achievable. Michigan went out there they pulled Milton to the sideline. They went out with Wildcat personnel. Then they actually switched that up, put Milton back in the game. They actually got the snap kind of off. They were running a play that I think they ran against Minnesota to Evans that eventually scored against Minnesota, but Michigan State called timeout, and then they returned Milton to the Wildcat. So why am I saying all that? Sam, there were people, even Joel Klatt on the broadcast, saying when they put the Wildcat personnel out there that wasn't I didn't understand the choice, I didn't like the choice. Neither did I at the time. Not because a play could succeed or fail. Here's why. This was a crucial, important time in the game. It's 14-7 Michigan State. We are answering. And you know what? You got a young quarterback who has led this team down the field. You have a young quarterback who needs that reinforcement, and I think he should have been entitled to finish. You got to remember, this is the thing about coaching that I want to address today. Sam, I built a house a few years ago. When I picked a builder, I didn't pick a builder because he was good with hammer and nails. You don't pick a coach just because they're good with X's and O's. These are young people. How do you deliver messaging to them? I watched Milton come off on the sideline twice on the broadcast. He's a guy who cried tears before his first start because the moment was real. I think that this is messaging to the team and to him. I don't like the messaging. Let him finish. They had an opportunity for a first down. And lastly, Sam, and then I'll be quiet and listen, they have the Wildcat package, which we saw in expansion with a throw, is a limited package. It's more limited than the full offense. I just don't think that was the right situation. I didn't like the messaging, and I didn't like the messaging to Michigan State either, that we needed something gimmicky or something like that to score.
So I disagree emphatically with the second down call. And the third down, I think you're right. I think you have Joe Milton, especially if you're going to throw the football, you have Joe Milton out there to throw that football. But the second down call, I thought was Josh Gaddis's best play call of the day. It was a perfect call. It had Michigan State completely fooled. It was a sure touchdown, and it took into account game flow to that point. You ran a Wildcat from Duo out of pistol. So you have, and with 13 personnel. So you've given an extra blocker out there. You're running Duo. So Michigan State, they're shooting their linebacker the whole game. So now you have taken into account your running back instead of like on a zone run where you're keying your lineman, you're looking at the butt of your lineman. You are telling your running back, you are keying that Mike backer. He is your guy. You're also taking into account that you don't block your corner, but they're in man-to-man. So your corner isn't paying attention to run anyway. Your receiver can run that guy off. So your receiver runs the corner off. You've taken into account the Mike backer who's been shooting the whole game. If he shoots, then that tells your running back on Duo, because that's bending backside anyway. Soon as he sees that running back shoot, you bend backside. And you give yourself an extra blocker in 13 personnel, and the fact that it's pistol. So your fullback is going to be a blocker as well, and he has edge responsibilities. This is as pretty and as perfect a look as you could possibly get. This is a sure touchdown. You have completely fooled Michigan State. You could have scored this touchdown, Joe. So as I hear people talk about this, I think it's overly simplistic. Just like they did on the broadcast. Joel Klatt was wrong. Gus Johnson was wrong. They spent so much time talking about why are you running Wildcat here without looking at the play. And if you look at the play, it was perfect. It was a perfect, took everything into account that had happened to them in that game. The fact that you had run Wildcat successfully last week, and it wasn't even the same play. They ran Duo, and Duo was key to me. The play that they chose was key to me because it's saying, all right, we see this linebacker shooting the whole game. If he does that, that's exactly what we want him to do. So your lineman who got blown up on the play, it doesn't even need to be that good a block.
So Sam, is that what we tell our players we need to do against Michigan State? We need to have that 13
score, yes. We need to score. Yes. This is a sure, guys, we're going to come here. We're going to get a sure score. That's what we need to do.
How did we get down the field, Sam? We marched down the field.
Right.
We marched down the field without Wildcat.
You would have been fine. You would have been fine if Joe Milton had dropped back and handed Hassan Haskins the ball.
I would have been fine if we had a complete array of options and let the man and the team finish the drive they started.
But my question is, if Joe Milton had been in the game and had handed Hassan Haskins the ball, would you have been fine with it?
Yes.
Because is the question who had the ball in that situation, or is it merely that you wanted Joe Milton on the football field for whatever the play was?
It's the First of all, yes to that. It's the messaging that I'm talking about. Part of coaching just isn't the right play at the right time. It's the messaging to the players and the reinforcement. Hey, I want my young general and the team that's out there on second down to have a chance to finish what they started. I don't want the messaging that we need something gimmicky or we need something extra to beat Michigan State, and I don't want Michigan State to think that either.
See, but so did you think it was gimmicky when they ran Wildcat in week one?
Here's what I think. First of all, I've never been a fan, but I know they've made an emphasis to do things in the red zone better this year, and I know that that's a part of it. And so where I am a fan of it, Sam, is if it's very short yardage, like a yard or two that we need. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a fan of it. I think it's better. But I would say this. Can I just ask you, see if we can agree on one thing? Do you believe the options in the Wildcat formation are more limited than the rest of the offense?
Sure.
Okay. Well, it's second down. There's a first down to achieve. We've really made nothing but successful gains on the entire drive. There's not been one negative play. I want to tell my team, finish what you started with your best, most skillful options.
Well, hey, I got to tell you, we do need to get to a break here. And I'll show you in the break. What I'm talking about, because I saw you say this. I'm about to illustrate this play because you can, Is it more limited than having a passing option on the football field? Sure. But they had all kinds of deception in what was obviously a run play that had Michigan State completely out of sorts. They had no idea what was coming. And this was a sure touchdown by your best runner. So if I'm running it on second down, I don't care whether it's Joe Milton handing the ball off to Hassan Haskins or Hassan Haskins taking a direct snap. Doesn't matter to me. And Hassan Haskins was getting that football, and he happened to get the football with an extra blocker on this play. Hey, criticize away the third down call. Legit. You're going to throw it with Joe Milton. To your point, you want your general on the field in that clutch situation. I'm fine with that too. But second down, you couldn't get more perfect with the call as far as I'm concerned. But let's get to a break. I'll let you come back on the other side. We got some treats in the break for you guys that are with us on the video. Back with more of the breakdown, the Michigan football breakdown with Joe Simon here on the other side on Sports Talk 1050 WTKA, The Ticket.
Clear on the radio. Couple minute break here, and Sam, just got to keep our eye on the clock at the next segment.
Gotcha.
At about 47.
Gotcha. How long do we have in this break?
About 3 minutes.
All right, let me share my screen, Mr. Weintraub. All right, sorry for the jumpiness on the screen. There we go. Let's hit play. So this is Wildcat Duo. All right, so I illustrated this to show the blocking. So on this play on Duo, normally, like if you're talking zone, your center is IDing the mic. Center doesn't ID the mic on this play. He identifies the weak side linebacker. So they are blocking back, and your back is keying on the mic. Now your back is keying on the mic, right? So that's an important distinction here on this play, that this guy is coming the whole game. He's shooting the whole game, right? All right. So everyone on this play up front, they're blocking back, right? So now your center and your guard are working to the backside linebacker. Your guys on the edge are working out, and I'll illustrate this even more. They're working up to the mic. So if he decides he wants to shoot out, you got a guy out there. But your fullback on this play has edge responsibilities. He's supposed to be out here. Now I highlight the mic shooting. This tells Haskins bounce. That's his read. So it doesn't matter if that's a good block or not. You see that, you bounce it outside, but you had Joe or Ben Mason right next to him. He couldn't bounce it. If he's able to bounce it, look out here at the receiver. He's running the corner off. That's wide open. It's touchdown. You're moonwalking.
Yeah, I still would have said it was a bad call.
It was a perfect.
No, it might have been a perfect call for success, Sam, but this is what we should talk about on the air. This objection relevance. It's not relevant to the point I'm making. The point I'm making is the messaging. Look, maybe we should talk about this on air, but I mean, we have an issue going on in our program with development and trust, in my view, and this is a part of it.
Well, I guess I don't see that as a sign of lack of trust in your quarterback. I mean, if the Baltimore Ravens can run Wildcat with Lamar Jackson at quarterback, that's not saying they don't trust Lamar Jackson. That's saying, hey, if we're going to run the football with Mark Ingram on this play, maybe I want an extra blocker in there to give this particular run play a good chance for success. Now, I don't disagree with your point on third down. If we're talking third down, then I think you're right, Joe. Let's put the quarterback back in there. And it's a sign of faith, and we're going to execute this pass. He's the one that we want with it on the side. But if I'm going to run the football, I don't see a problem with plussing that run.
First of all, we don't know that we're going to run the football, A, and B, if you had a running back, let's put it this way. Let's say Charbonnet made 8 successive positive yard runs to get to that place. Now we pull him to the sideline.
See, you had Hassan Haskins had several. He had several positive runs leading up to that.
I know he did, and without the necessity.
Back in about 10 seconds on radio, guys. Stand by. Sam, only about 8-10 minutes left here.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah, well, less film, more talk.
Back on radio in 5, 4, 3.
And we are back, folks, here on the Michigan Insider Sports Talk 1050 WTKA, online at WTKA.com. We are back with more Michigan football breakdown with Joe Simon from the law offices of Joseph A. Simon. Before we dive back in, Joe, tell folks about the law offices of Joseph A. Simon.
Sammy, we're right here in Ann Arbor and Washtenaw County, primarily all surrounding counties as well. Full service criminal defense, misdemeanor to felony, nothing too big, nothing too small. 734-887-6200 or the MichiganDefenders.com.
All right, so let's dive back in, Joe. Where do we want to go from here?
Sam, I don't know how much more video we're going to get to, but I do want to talk about some of the other things that I found on the offensive side that were just, before I get to that, we could definitely, I need to give equal time, I think, to coach, because a lot of people said that we weren't doing any zone. Yeah, we were. I mean, and I have a clip that's called Even in Zone. So let's get to that. Sorry, I'm going to have to start that again. This is when Michigan State's backed up against their own goal line, and we are in a full zone defense here, Sam. There's no question of that on snap. But even when we were in zone, we ran it curiously and we didn't run it very well. So, for example, we have our backers dropping in coverage. I just think Hawkins is late to this coverage. Mm-hmm. But you end up with an isolation that should not have been. And again, we have an isolated pitch and catch. You know, Sam, there's one other thing I want to get to, and it's not easy for me on the screen share. I'm apologizing to everybody else. Did we see this last week? Sam, I put up a clip in the Minnesota game when Minnesota was backed up against their own goal line. And I said, Sam, I'm not sure what Hawkins is doing on this play. I'm not sure he's supposed to be doing this. And they ended up with an isolation. And the reason I put this clip in, and this is Michigan State about midfield, or about the own 40-yard line. And Hawkins comes up almost without purpose that creates the isolation that we saw against Minnesota. Mm-hmm. And again, it's a big play. I asked you when we did the Minnesota thing last week, I said, Sam, I'm not sure if that's by design or if that's just bad execution. And you said, yeah, I don't know what happened on that play. But we saw it again. And what bothers me is certainly Michigan State watched that film too. I still don't have that answer, but that's just, again, I think a good example of where we aren't putting our players in the best positions possible.
Yeah, you I think you highlight that zone is not saying simply play more zone is not a panacea. I think is a very, very accurate point. I think when we talk about Michigan being in zone, really we're talking about cover two, which is their bread and butter as far as zone is concerned. I think alternatively, one of the things that I'll be looking for to see if they incorporate it is, hey man, we're going to go to some more 3 deep coverage. We're going to play deep as the deepest, and we're going to keep everything in front of us, and see if that will at least prevent some of the over the top shots. Whereas, yeah, it's going to leave you more vulnerable underneath. You like the versatility of the versatility and the increased aggressiveness of cover 2. You have fewer holes underneath with that defense, but I think you might have to concede that a little bit based on personnel and see if teams can be methodical and dink and dunk you down the football field. Maybe your pressure is going to have more opportunities to get there. It's maybe teams still try it. Maybe they still try to throw in the 3 deep coverage, right? But that's not something that Michigan routinely does. And even with some of their zone concepts, there's still a lot of man in there. I talked about it with the touchdowns, the touchdowns to the tailback. They were zone to the field, man to the other side, and they went to the man side against the linebacker. So I guess to me, ultimately it boils down to how much aggression are they willing to take out of their secondary play moving forward in order to help them on the back end. I don't know the answer to that question, Joe.
Not only is that a good question, but I worry that if we do what we need to do to give the corners more support, the last couple of years we've been torched by crossing routes. We haven't seen that much this year, but guess what's going to happen tomorrow if we start giving that support to the perimeter and to the backside? And I don't think that we have the linebackers that can really cover. Number 12, I don't like to call it. Ross had a tough game in coverage.
I don't think that we are highlighting things that will fix everything that ailed them. We're talking about Band-Aid options, and
Yep.
it boils down to: do you want to die with one shot, or do you want it to be by 1,000 pinpricks, and hoping that you in one of those attempted pinpricks, maybe you make a play to prevent it, as opposed to going down the field in one shot. They're going to get down the field in 10 of those shots, and maybe in between those 10, they make a mistake or you make a play. I think that's the pick your poison kind of scenario that we're in. Make yourself vulnerable to big plays or make yourself vulnerable to plays underneath.
First of all, I think you're right. That is the situation that we're in, but we got two responses. Number one, I want to make the point I made earlier. I didn't see any time in this game where post-snap the quarterback had a different read than he had pre-snap. That can change and needs to change. And the second thing is that goes to the offensive side. We're in a different era of football that requires big points, basketball score points, and we're going to need them throughout the rest of the season. Sam, I know we don't have a lot of time left. I just want to just talk about sort of fan perspective, because I've been getting a lot of tweets and things this year. I do want to advocate something that people are saying. People have been saying, people have the feeling that something's wrong. People have a feeling that our development isn't where it should be, that our retention of players isn't where it should be, that our recruiting is pretty good, but our culture, that's the word people keep asking about, isn't there. I don't know what happens at Schembechler Hall. I'm not there. But here's the things that I think that I have been familiar with in my experience coaching young people that I think are worth pointing out. Players can lose trust. They lose trust when things aren't successful. We'll hear the phrase trust the process. Well, process becomes hard to trust when they're not successful. Players lose trust when they're told that there's, things like meritocracy, or people will be rewarded with playing time for this and that, and then that doesn't happen. There seems to be, and that's why I mentioned whether you agree or not, what I mentioned on the Wildcat. You have young people, college coaches message young people and develop young people. It's not just X's and O's. And the way to do that is going to sound so trite, so simple, but I believe it with every bit of my fiber. It's really love. It's love for each other. It's love in the locker room. It's love for their coach. Walk through fire for the coach and their teammates. When I see Michigan looking bewildered, as I have in a lot of situations over the last few years, that's where I scratch my head. I don't have the explanation for it, but it's my observation. And I think it's the observation of a lot of folks.
It shall be interesting to see how they respond and rebound this week. Certainly, we will be previewing tomorrow, and Joe will be with us on the Key Bank Countdown to Kickoff. And we'll be back next Friday to break down the matchup with Indiana, which, as you look at the numbers can fool you about the Indiana offense. They can make you think that they aren't about to face an offense with more talent than the one that they just saw at Michigan State. I say don't let that fool you. I think their quarterback is better. I think their skill talent is better. I think they're getting used to a new OC. And if that new OC just looks at the film from last week, I think he'll just tailor your game plan to that and see if Michigan can adjust and stop it. I think the numbers don't tell what we're going to see from Indiana tomorrow, Joe.
Look, you could say the same thing on the defensive side of the ball. Penn State racked up 500 yards of total offense on them, although their defense has improved. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the countdown to kickoff. I got a few things to talk about then. I'll just say, Sam, that I got to get ready to go argue with judges and prosecutors. but you're a lot better and more fun to argue with, and frankly, more prepared sometimes, Sam. More prepared, more skilled.
Well, you told me we were going to debate this. I said, okay, we can debate that. Let me go draw this up. So there you go. But Joe, before you go, tell people about the law offices of Joseph A. Simon.
Yeah, Sam, this is my great distraction, but our real passion and what we do best is criminal defense. And, you know, this is the kind of thing that we do. We analyze things. We go through a lot of film, too. In-car videos, police body cam videos. We analyze this. We analyze the law. We make argument in court. And this is how we do what we do. We like to think we are your best option. You can find us at themichigandefenders.com.
All right, folks, we need to get to a break. We'll be back on the other side. We're going to chat with our friend Matt Dejanovich. We got John U. Bacon coming up, so stay tuned here on the Michigan Insider on Sports Talk 1050 WTK, The Ticket. I think
Clear on radio, and now we're saying bye to the stream. Bye, stream.
Hey, man.